Okay, let's continue. وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ, and towards Madian, أَخَاهُمْ, their brother, Shu'ayban, Shu'ayb alayhi salam. To the people of Madian, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Shu'ayb alayhi salam as a messenger. Who are the people of Madian? Madian, as I have told you several times earlier as well, that it is said that he was either the son of Ibrahim alayhi salam or his grandson. It was the name of either his son or grandson. And perhaps a stronger opinion would be that he was his grandson, because mainly of his children, who do we know of? Ishaq alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam. And his descendants, they were known as the people of Madian, and where they lived, that area came to be known as Madian as well. So to the city of Madian, أخاهم, their brother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Shu'ayban, Shu'ayb alayhi salam. فقال, so he said, Ya qawmi, O my people, u'budu Allah, worship Allah. The same message as Ibrahim alayhi salam. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam say? U'budu Allah wattaquhu. So, Ya qawmi u'budu Allah, O my people, worship Allah. Warjul yawm al-akhir, and also hope for, fear, look forward to the last day. Warju. Urju from the root letters Ra, Jim, Waw, and Raja. What does Raja mean? To hope for something, and also fear. Two meanings. Hope, expect, look forward to, and secondly, fear. So, Warjul Yawm al-Akhir. What does the last day refer to? The Day of Judgment. And why is it called the last day? Why is the Day of Judgment called the last day? Yes, life after that is eternal. If you think about it, human beings, they mainly have 4 days. One is that which is in the womb of the mother. The second is that which is on the surface of the earth. The third is that which is in the grave. And the fourth will be the last one, meaning after resurrection, which is going to be eternal. After which there will be no other day. And if you think about it, every day, as the day comes to an end and the next day begins, what happens? You feel as though there is a new beginning. Isn't it so? Things have changed. If you were very sad yesterday, today you hope to be happy. If you were ill yesterday, today you hope to feel better. If you were very tired and exhausted yesterday, you hope to have more energy today. If you weren't as productive yesterday, you hope to be more productive today. Isn't it? As the next day comes, you feel that it will be different. You want to make it different. However, the Day of Judgment is the last day, meaning whatever happens on that day, it will not change after that. If a person is in Jannah, he will be in Jannah. And if a person is in hellfire, he will be in hellfire. ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. So Shu'ayb alayhi salam, he said to the people, وَرْجُ الْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ, hope for the last day, or fear the last day. What does it mean by this? If we take the meaning of raja to be hope, look forward to, expect, then look forward to it, hope for it, do something to prepare for that last day. Why are you wasting your time? It's like, imagine if a person is going to travel somewhere and they have to leave in about 2 days and they still haven't packed their bags, they still haven't done their shopping. What will you say? This person is not looking forward to his trip. Isn't it so? So, warjul yawm al-akhir, hope for it, look forward to it. How? By preparing for it. Do something for that day. And also, if we take the meaning of raja to be fear, then fear the last day. How? That do that with which you can expect reward, and stay away from that which could bring punishment. Fear the last day. وَلَا تَعْثَوْا, and do not commit abuse, fil ardi, in the earth, mufsideen, as ones who spread corruption. Over here we see that Shu'ayb alayhi salam, he tells them 2 things. And what is that? U'budu and warju. And he prohibits them from one thing. And what is that? La ta'thaw fil ardi mufsidin. So he tells them to do 2 things, and he prohibits them from one thing. What does he prohibit them from? From fasad. La ta'thaw is from the root letters Ain Sa Waw, or Ain Sa Ya. And it can be from Asiya Ya'sa, which is which bab? عسية يعسى عسية فعل يعسى يفعل فعل يفعل سمع يسمع. Or it can be from عسى يعسو عسى يعسو فعل يفعل. What would that be? نصر ينصر. So it can be either from Bab Samir or Bab Nasara. And what does it mean? Afsada. Asiya or Asa, what does it mean? Afsada, meaning to create fasad. And remember that fasad, it is of two types. Over here when it is said, لا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. Mufsideen meaning as ones who do fasad. So Ais, Usub, what is it? Fasad. And remember that fasad is of two types. One is tangible fasad and the other is intangible fasad. What does it mean by tangible fasad? Like for example, wasting wealth. Because fasad is what? To corrupt, to go to an extreme, to cause decay, to spoil, to ruin. Right? So wasting wealth is a form of fasad. Similarly, wasting electricity, wasting water, that is also a form of fasad. Polluting the water, that is also a form of fasad. Similarly, we see that it is reported in Abu Dawud that once the Sahaba, they traveled with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ told them not to cut trees. Now does it mean cutting trees at all is not permitted? Without any reason. Without a genuine reason. Without need. Because that would be fasad. You're spoiling the earth. You're ruining the earth. Similarly, various acts of terrorism, frightening the people, taking their peace away in whatever way, destroying buildings, all of this is what? Fasad. This is tangible fasad. And the second type of fasad is intangible. What does it mean by that? That, for example, false rumors, what would they cause? They destroy relationships. Or, for example, passing negative things around people. Oh, you know, so-and-so said this about you, and so said that about you. And as a result, what happens? People who were perfectly fine, they develop hatred and dislike for one another. This is what? Intangible fasad. Causing good relationships to get ruined. How? By backbiting. By spreading rumors. By spreading ill feelings about one another. This is a kind of intangible fasad. Similarly, intangible fasad includes, what else? Not giving the rights of people. What a person deserves, the haqq that they have, not giving that to them. And remember that the cause behind tangible and intangible fasad is disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because any kind of fasad, whether tangible or intangible, what is it? It is a sin. It is an act of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for example, if a person is wasting wealth, if a person is wasting electricity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, لا تسرفوا. Do not commit israf. So if a person does not listen to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of la tusrifu, then what is he doing? He's committing a sin. Isn't it so? So the cause behind fasad is what? Disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sins. Which is why we learn in Surah Al-Rum, ayah 41, that ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِ النَّاسِ. That corruption, it has spread, it has appeared throughout the land and sea. Why? Because of what the people have done. Because of what the hands of people have acquired. بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِ النَّاسِ. So the sins, they are the reason behind fasad, whether tangible or intangible. So over here we see that Shu'aib alayhi salam, he tells his people, لَا تَعْثَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ مُفْسِدِينَ. Now the question is, what kind of fasad were these people committing? What kind of fasad was it? Cheating. They used to cheat one another. They were unfair to one another when it came to buying and selling, when it came to trading. And if you think about it, what kind of fasad is that? Tangible and intangible. Isn't it so? You're cheating someone, you're causing the other loss, tangible. But that's going to lead to mistrust. That's going to lead to hatred. That's going to lead to people disliking one another. So this is why he says, لا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. Do not commit abuse on the earth as mischief makers, as troublemakers. Because when you will cheat one another, you'll be causing both types of fasad. And it's a result of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now over here we see that after the example of Lut alayhi salam, the example of Shu'aib alayhi salam is mentioned. That how even he did da'wah to his people. And you will notice over here that the details are not being mentioned. Why? Because the details we have learned earlier. Over here the main lesson, the main theme is being pointed out. That this is what the messengers did and this is how the people responded. Over here if you look, the two commands that Shu'aib alayhi salam gave to his people, U'budullaha warjul yawm al-akhir. Worship Allah, meaning worship only Him, and look forward to the last day. What do these two commands reflect? Tawheed and belief in hereafter. And the fear of the day of judgment. That will make them careful in their dealings with one another. Isn't it so? It's the fear of the day of judgment that makes people concerned about their dealings with one another. And it's the fear of the day of judgment that makes a person focus on necessary, important work until his last breath. Because for a believer, he never ever retires. There's no retirement. Why? Because he has to prepare for his last day until his last breath. Isn't it so? So he can never think, oh, since I've become old, therefore I don't need to do this anymore. This is too difficult for me. I've become old. I need to rest. I need to take it easy. I'm going to die very soon, so I need to take it easy. No. If a person is being driven by the fear of the day of judgment, then he will prepare for it until his last breath. Which is why we see that many scholars of the past, what do we learn about them? That even on their deathbed, what would they be doing? Seeking knowledge. Asking questions. It is said about Al-Bayruni that he was on his deathbed. He was at the verge of dying. And someone came to visit him, a knowledgeable person. And when he came to visit him, Al-Bayruni, he started asking him questions about inheritance. So this man, he got very puzzled. And he's like, why are you asking about this? What benefit will it give you? You are in so much pain, in so much agony, and yet you're asking me about inheritance? What benefit will it give you? He said, I'd rather die knowing about this issue than die in ignorance of this issue. Just imagine. So he asked his question, he gave the answer, and this man, when he gave the answer, after some time he left. And when he left, soon after, he heard the announcement that he had passed away. So just imagine, this is called seeking knowledge from the cradle to the grave. When a person is concerned about his akhirah, and he is preparing for his akhirah, then he works until the last moment. And the question was actually relevant. It was about inheritance. Perhaps he was concerned about what was to happen to some of his property after he passed away. Who was to get it and who was not to get it. And you see, when something is very important to you and you're preparing for it, you prepare for it until the last moment. You know, there are some people who, as they're walking into the examination hall, what happens? They have their books with them, their notes with them, and before they walk in, what do? They just check quickly and they close and they put it away and then they go and take the test. And many times what do they say? Alhamdulillah, I checked at that last moment, that root word, that singular word, and that's why I remembered. Right? Similarly, it happens that when guests are coming, until they enter the house, what are you doing? Looking around, can I fix anything? Can I improve anything? Why? Why aren't you satisfied with whatever you've done already? Because their arrival is important to you. How you are going to portray your house is important to you. Then is the day of judgment not that important? Is our akhirah, our last day, not that important? That we don't prepare for it until our last breath? Why do we think that since I have worked for this long and since I have, studied this and since I have done that, this is enough and I don't need to do any more? No, a believer is never ever satisfied. Warjul yawm al-akhir. And you will see this even in those people who don't believe in the day of judgment, that even when they reach old age, they don't think that their life is over. People who are in their 60s, they will go bungee jumping. They will go and do these crazy things. Aren't they too old? Of course they are. But do they consider themselves old? No, they don't. Whatever they want to do, they do it anyway. It's like that 80-year-old woman who memorized the Quran at this old age. It's possible. We handicap ourselves. Just as we discussed earlier, that we get some happiness, some good news, and that's it. We forget about everything. Similarly, what happens with other people is that they think, oh, we've become old. Now I'm 20. How can I do that? Now I'm 30. How can I do that? This is what people think. But the fact is that you can accomplish anything at any age, provided that you want to. And if you're preparing for the akhirah, then whatever you have done is not enough. You have to work until the last moment. The last moment. So he said to the people, يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَارْجُوا الْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ وَلَا تَعْثَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ مُفْسِدِينَ. But what was the reaction of the people? فَكَذَّبُوهُ. But they denied him. They rejected him, despite the fact that he told them so clearly. And he tried to make them understand. They rejected him. They refused to believe in him. So did Allah leave them? No. فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الرَّجْفَةُ. So the earthquake seized them. Al-Rajfa, from the root letters, Ra, Jim, Fa. And Rajfa, it applies to a zalzala. But what kind of a zalzala is it? One that is very severe. A severe earthquake, a severe convulsion. It shook them, a violent tremor. And a Rajfa does not just apply to an earthquake, but also applies to a loud scream. Why? Because a loud blast, what does it do? Just imagine a loud screaming sound. What does it do? It causes things to move. And it also shakes your heart. So فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الرَّجْفَةُ. The earthquake or the loud blast, it seized them. فَأَصْبَحُوا فِي دَارِهِمْ جَاثِمِينَ. So they became in their homes as ones who are fallen on their knees, prostrate, humbled. They refused to humble themselves before Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala degraded them. Jathimin is a plural of Jathim, from the root letters Jim, Sa, Mim. And Juthum is when a bird sits on its chest while the chest touches the ground. You understand? As a bird, it's sitting on the ground, but how? That the chest is touching the ground. And from this word also applies to when a person falls on his face. Typically when people fall, how do they fall? On their back. But if a person falls on his face, that is humiliation, degradation. So فَأَصْبَحُوا فِي دَارِهِمْ جَاثِمِينَ. They became in their homes lying lifeless, prostrate in their homes, kneeled over on their knees, dead, humbled, finished. The teachings of Shu'aib alayhi salam did not make any difference to them. He told them, they refused to listen, and look at their end. Over here, فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الرَّجْفَةُ is said, and elsewhere the word sayha is used. So perhaps it was both the punishments that were sent upon them, and as I told you, Rajfa has both meanings, of the earthquake as well as the blast. وَعَادًا, and the people of Ad, meaning, and we also destroyed the people of Ad. And where did they live? In the area of Ahqaf, in Yemen. وَثَمُود, and the people of Thamud, even they were finished, even they were destroyed. Why? Because of their kufr. وَقَدْ تَبَيَّنَ لَكُمْ, and in fact it has become clear to you. مِن مَسَاكِنِهِمْ, from their homes. Masakin is a plural of maskan. So from their homes it has become very clear to you. What has become clear to you? That they were destroyed. That something happened. That when you go pass by their homes, when you pass by their ruins, when you witness their end, you know that something happened. It's not possible that you pass by an empty place, a house that is completely empty, that is in ruins, nobody lives there anymore, and you don't wonder, what happened here? Isn't it so? You always wonder what happened. Who used to live here? How come no one lives here anymore? How come this house is deserted? How come this entire city is deserted? You wonder. You always question. So وَقَدْ تَبَيَّنَ لَكُم مِّن مَسَاكِنِهِمْ, their masakin that remain till today, it has become clear to you from them that something happened. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that He destroyed them, they were actually destroyed. وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم, and shaitan adorned their deeds for them. فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ, and then he prevented them from the way. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ, and they were ones who were endowed with perception. What do we see over here? That these people who were destroyed, why were they destroyed? Why were they punished? Because of their wrong actions. because of the crimes that they used to commit. And these crimes, why did they commit them? Did they not see them as evil? Like for example, if you think about it, the people of Shu'aib alayhi salam, they cheated one another. If you think about it, isn't cheating something bad? Of course it's bad. So what makes a person do it? What is it that makes a person do it? Why does he not consider it bad? He thinks it's very good. Isn't it? Shaitan has beautified his actions for him. Similarly, the actions that the people of Lut alayhi salam committed, the thought of those actions even disgusts us. So what is it that made them do it? زَيَّنَ لَهُمْ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. Shaitan adorned their deeds for them. He projected their evil deeds as good, which is why they did not consider evil to be evil. They did not consider evil to be evil, and they did it anyway. They liked what they were doing. They thought what they were doing was very good. And as a result, فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ, and as a result, Shaitan, he prevented them from the right way. Meaning, because their deeds were adorned for them, even though they saw the truthfulness, the logic of what the messenger was telling them, they weren't willing to accept it. فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ. As a result, they were prevented from the right way. And it wasn't that these people were foolish that they didn't get it. No. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. They were endowed with perception. Mustabsirin is a plural of mustabsir. And mustabsir is from the root letters ba, sad, ra. Basar. What does basar mean? To see. And istibsar is to have perception, to be discerning, to be able to differentiate between good and bad, beneficial and harmful, that which will bring benefit and that which will bring loss, to be able to differentiate between right and wrong. This is what istibsar is. Many times, when we find out that somebody is doing something very wrong, what do we think? They don't have aql. They're not using their reason. Perhaps they're foolish. Oh, look at them. They can't even understand this. Isn't it? This is how we think. But what do we see over here? That all of these people, it wasn't that they were foolish. It wasn't that they didn't understand what they were doing was wrong. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. They were discerning people. They were people who were endowed with reason, with perception. They were able to figure out what was good, what was bad, what was beneficial, what was harmful. But this was only with regards to dunya, not with regards to akhirah. You understand? They were very intelligent, very clever, very smart when it came to dunya. Which is why they built such great structures. They built such lofty homes. They had such a detailed economic system. Which is why they were able to cheat one another in such a fine way that other people would not even find out. So it wasn't that they were foolish, no. They were very intelligent, very clever, but only with regards to dunya. And if you think about it, even today, many people, they are lost in their dunya. Very intelligent when it comes to the dunya. If you ask them something about politics, something about geography, something about history, something about literature, they'll give you the answers. Isn't it? They know about many, many things. But at the same time, when it comes to the religion, if you ask them even one thing, they're not sure. So what is true intelligence? Is it just about knowing the dunya? No. If a person knows only about the dunya, no matter how intelligent he may be, it will not lead him to making the right choices. A person can only make right choices when he is knowledgeable of the deen. The dunya knowledge is not sufficient, which is why we learned that إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. And who are those ulama? Those who know Allah, those who know the deen, those who know the akhirah. So وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. And وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ has also been understood as that they saw the clear signs. It wasn't that they did not recognize the truthfulness of the messenger who was sent to them. No, they saw the clear signs. They realized, they understood, but yet they rejected. Still they did not understand. Still they did not accept. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. So it wasn't that their denial was because of ignorance. No, their denial was based on arrogance. And this is why they were destroyed. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. In Surah Al-Rum, ayah number 7, we learn that يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. That they know what is apparent of the worldly life, but they of the hereafter are unaware. Many people, when it comes to dunya, extremely intelligent, they know about everything. But when it comes to the akhirah, completely unaware. In Surah Al-Naml, ayah 66, we learn, بَلِ ادَّارَكَ عِلْمُهُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ بَلْ هُمْ فِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهَا بَلْ هُمْ مِنْهَا عَمُونَ. Rather, their knowledge is arrested concerning the akhirah. It's finished, it's exhausted, they don't know anything. Rather, they are in doubt about it. Rather, they are concerning it blind. For the majority of the people, when it comes to the knowledge of dunya, it's something that is essential. But when it comes to the knowledge of the deen, it's something that is your choice. Isn't it so? Why do people think like this? Because they give importance to dunya and they don't give importance to akhirah. وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. Shaitan has really beautified their deeds for them, so they think what they're doing is very good. And as a result, they don't give importance to deen. They give only importance to dunya. And unfortunately, many times when it comes to the deen, people will say with so much confidence, oh, I'm not that religious. So-and-so is not that practicing. How can you even say that? How can you even admit that with your own mouth? I'm not that religious. Is it something to be proud of? That if you think about it, وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالُهُم, there's so much shiddah in the word, that how strongly their deeds were adorned for them. How much they were beautified for them. That although these deeds were so repulsive and so wrong, still they did them. And if you think about it, even today, there are many things that are wrong. But why do people do them? When it comes to stealing, when it comes to cheating, when it comes to lying, when it comes to skipping, when it comes to not doing your work, why do people do it? What gives them the confidence to do it? What is it? They think what they're doing is very good. They think they're very smart. They think they're very intelligent. But is intelligent good for a person? No. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. No matter how intelligent and smart he may think he is, this intelligence, this smartness does not work with Allah. It does not work. So we need to be very, very careful that if we are doing something, we shouldn't just be doing it because we find it attractive. Just because we find it good. Just because it brings pleasure to us. Just because everybody's doing it. Just because it's in. No. If we're doing something, we have to check. Does Allah approve of it? Does our religion approve of it? And if it doesn't, no matter how attractive it is something evil. It is something that is filthy. We learned earlier that what is sayyi'ah? Something that makes you ugly. When a person does an evil deed, something that Allah has forbidden, he does not become beautiful. He may think he looks very clever, intelligent, smart, outspoken. However, he appears as ugly in the sight of Allah. What's the point of looking beautiful in the sight of people but ugly in the sight of Allah? What's the point? What's the benefit? Nothing. So وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ. And as a result, they were stopped from the right way. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. That shaitan is so intelligent that look at how he makes people stay away from the right thing, from doing what is right. How? By adorning evil. By beautifying their evil actions. And by saying things such as, you don't have to do this right now. You can do it later. But right now you're not capable. Right now you don't have time. Right now you're sick. Right now you're ill. Right now you're this. Right now you're that. Do it later. And he doesn't do it thinking that the choice that he's made is very good. زَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ. And a person forgets that he's wasting his time. He's wasting his life. Life is precious. Every moment is precious. I could die any moment. I should be preparing for my last day. فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ. And it's not only the foolish people who get fooled by shaitan. No. وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. It's even the people who are endowed with reason and perception. And we see that if a person does not have the right intelligence, if he does not make the right choices, on the day of judgment, what's going to happen? In the hellfire, what are people going to say? لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. If only we had been listening or reasoning, we would not be among the companions of the hellfire. If only we had heard, if only we had understood, we would not be here today. So right now, when it comes to using our brains for the deen, we don't put in much effort. But when it comes to dunya, we put in so much effort. So much effort. We see that shaitan, he works in both ways. Sometimes by beautifying the evil deeds, and other times by making good deeds seem extremely difficult. That, oh my God, this is impossible for me. I cannot do it. It seems like a huge mountain. Whereas it's not difficult. You can do it. Just as we discussed earlier, that if you have that spiritual strength, it will make you overcome your physical weakness. If you have that spiritual strength. Isn't it so that once you make up your mind, I have to do it, you do it? Isn't it? My grandmother, she was telling me that, when she sees young girls who, if they're expecting, they don't do what they're supposed to do. She was telling me she gave birth to 13 children. And she said she cooked and cleaned and washed all their clothes by hand. And she didn't have much help. She did, but obviously if you've given birth to 13 children, you have 12 children to look after all by yourself, and your husband is extremely busy, and you have help, who's going to wake up in the middle of the night and look after the children? And who's going to get them ready for school? And who's going to make their lunch and their breakfast and wash their clothes and all of that work? And she's like, these days, what's wrong with people? You have machines, and you have maids, and you have servants, and you have dishwashers, and you have everything. And yet, you say you can't do what you have to do? And I was asking her that, okay, if you were expecting and you felt sick, what did you do? She said, what could I do? I had to give food to the children. I had to give food to my husband. You accept your situation and you live with it. You move on with it. You don't live in that state thinking, oh my God, I'm so miserable, I can't do anything. Because the thing is that the more you dwell in your problems, the more difficult they become for you. And she didn't miss out on her salah, on her tahajjud, on her recitation of Quran. And sometimes I look at it that we think that doing housework, looking after children, is such a waste of time. Right? This is what we think sometimes. We come closer to the Quran, we study the Quran, we think, oh, housework, such a waste of time, and if only, somebody else would do it and I could spend all my time doing just deen ka kaam. This is what we say. Right? But the thing is that if a person accepts what their situation is at the time, Allah will give you the opportunity to do something different later as well. That from my childhood, I've seen her just from early morning, she's making breakfast for other people. And then after the breakfast, she's washing the clothes. And after the clothes, she's making lunch. And then after lunch, she's clearing up. And then after that, she's making dinner. And now that I look at her, she has all the time to herself to read her Quran, to read her du'as, to read her books. And it's amazing. It's because she was grateful at that time that Allah has given her this opportunity.
What else?
وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. There are many who, when it comes to the dunya, they're very intelligent. When it comes to their studies, when it comes to their careers, extremely successful. But when it comes to the religion, when it comes to, performing salah, when it comes to going for hajj, they don't feel anything. They don't feel anything. This is a great deprivation. That a person has a lot of intellect, but still when it comes to the deen, he doesn't get anything. He doesn't experience anything. Okay, let's continue. وَقَارُونَ وَفِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ. And we also destroyed Qarun and Fir'aun and Haman. Who is Qarun? What is he known for? Or what was he famous for? What was he proud of? His wealth? Only his wealth? His knowledge. What did he say? إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. So, in the previous ayah, what do we see? That وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ, the people who were very, very intelligent, but still they were destroyed. And in this ayah, symbols of success, worldly success, they are being mentioned. That Qarun, a symbol of wealth, a symbol of knowledge. وَفِرْعَوْنَ, what is he a symbol of? Authority, power. وَهَامَانَ, who was the wazir of Fir'aun, and what is he a symbol of? Also power and authority, but also that he was very close to Fir'aun. He was very close to those who were very successful. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَهُمْ مُوسَى بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. And Musa a.s., he certainly came to them with clear signs, with manifest proofs. But what happened? فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. But they were arrogant in the earth. وَمَا كَانُوا سَابِقِينَ. But with their arrogance, they were not at all ones who could outrun our punishment. If you look at it, Qarun is mentioned first. Why is he mentioned first? Because it's quite possible that he was destroyed before Fir'aun and Haman. And also he is mentioned first, if he was destroyed after Fir'aun and Haman, that there is more of a lesson, there is more of an ibrah in his destruction. Because he was knowledgeable and he was also related to Musa alayhi salam. So of the Mustabsirin comes who? First of all, Qarun. And then after Qarun, Fir'aun. And then Haman. And it wasn't that they didn't know. Musa alayhi salam came to them with clear signs. He showed the truth to them. But still, فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. They were arrogant in the earth. And if you look what is mentioned over here, فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Someone who is on the earth, on ground level, does he have any reason to be arrogant? No. فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Look at where they were. Just because of their knowledge, just because of their worldly power, worldly authority, they became very arrogant and they refused to accept the truth. وَمَا كَانُوا سَابِقِينَ. But with all that pride, with all that worldly success, were they able to outsmart the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not at all. Sabiqeen is a plural of sabiq. And who is sabiq? One who gets ahead of the other. So they were not at all ones who get ahead of the punishment of Allah. No, they could not escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment. If you look at it, Qarun, he was extremely arrogant over his wealth and knowledge. And how was he punished? Swallowed by the earth. Fir'aun and Haman, they were also proud of their worldly power. And we learned that in Surah Al-Zukhruf, ayah 51, Fir'aun, he said, وَنَادَى فِرْعَوْنُ فِي قَوْمِهِ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. That Fir'aun, he announced in his people, in his nation, and he said, O my nation, is it not that the mulk of Misr belongs to me? That I am the king of Egypt? وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ. And these rivers, they are flowing underneath my power. But what happened? He boasted about controlling the land of Egypt and controlling the rivers of Egypt. And how was he finished? He was drowned in the water. وقارون وفرعون وهامان ولقد جاءهم موسى بالبينات فاستكبروا في الأرض وما كانوا سابقين. If you look at it, even today, people are very, very impressed by such personalities. Who? Those who are very knowledgeable, those who are very beautiful, those who are very powerful. They're very impressed by them. Even if they don't believe, they're very impressed by them. Why? Because we think success is about this dunya. If a person is the richest, then he is extremely successful. If a person has a lot of power, he's in the government, he's very, very successful. If a person has a lot of knowledge, he's won the Nobel Prize, for example, on something, because of his knowledge, very successful. This is what we think. But what do you see over here? That no matter how successful a person may be in worldly terms, if he turns away from Allah, if he does not have the basic understanding of the religion to submit to Allah. فَكُلًّا أَخَذْنَا بِذَنْبِهِ. So each we seized for his sin. كُلًّا, each one of them. Who? Of those who are mentioned over here. From the people of Lut alayhi salam, to the people of Shu'aib alayhi salam, to the people of Ad and Samud, and Fir'aun and Haman, and Qarun. فَكُلًّا أَخَذْنَا بِذَنْبِهِ. It wasn't that they were punished without any reason, no. Allah seized each one of them for the sin that they had committed. So how were they punished? فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِ حَاصِبًا. So from them are those on whom we sent a hasib. Hasib, ha-sad-ba. A shower of stones. Hasab, hasba is used for rocks, pebbles. And hasib is such a wind, such a severe wind, bubbles in it. It can apply to a violent wind, it can apply to a hailstorm, it can apply to a hurricane. So فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِ حَاصِبًا. We unleashed against them a hasib, such as who? The people of Lut alayhi salam. وَمِنْهُمْ, and from them, مَنْ أَخَذَتْهُ الصَّيْحَةُ, whom the scream, the loud blast, it seized him. A sayha. What is a sayha? A loud sound, a loud shriek, a piercing sound. Who was destroyed by that? the people of Ad, the people of Thamud, the people of Madian. وَمِنْهُمْ, and from them, مَنْ خَسَفْنَا بِهِ الْأَرْضَ, whom we caused the earth to swallow. Who is that? Qarun. And خَسَفْنَا بِهِ الْأَرْضَ, khasf, from the root letters kha, sin, fa, and khasf gives the meaning of, being swallowed in by the earth, sinking into the earth, but also it gives the meaning of humiliation. That just imagine swallowed by the earth. We caused the earth to swallow him. وَمِنْهُمْ, and from them, مَنْ أَغْرَقْنَا, whom we drowned. And who is that? Fir'aun and Haman. ثُمَّ أَغْرَقْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ, and it wasn't that Allah wronged them. It wasn't that Allah was unjust towards them for having punished them for a crime that they never committed. No. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ, but it was they who wronged themselves. They brought this end on themselves. So if you look at it, in this ayah, the various punishments that were sent upon the people of the past, they are being mentioned. And it's as though they're being summarized over here. And in particular, 4 punishments are mentioned. And what are they? Hasid, As-Sayha, Khasf, and Gharq. 4 punishments. And if you look at it, such punishments, or such calamities, such disasters, if they strike a people, if they strike a person even, can you escape them at all? If something comes from above, a shower of stones, hasid, can you avoid that? How can you? Impossible. As-Sayha, a loud blast. Even if you try to plug your ears, it doesn't help. Khasf, from below, can you avoid that? No. Gharq, drowning in the waters, can you avoid that? No, it's impossible. So where can a person run? How can a person think that he can escape the grasp of Allah? He can outrun, he can outsmart the plan of Allah. It's impossible. This is why we are taught this dua, that Allahumma ihfazni min bayni yadayya wa min khalfi. That, oh Allah, protect me, guard me from what is in front of me and also behind me. وَعَنْ يَمِينِي وَعَنْ شِمَالِي, and from my right and from my left. وَمِنْ فَوْقِي, and from above me. وَأَعُوذُ بِعَظَمَتِكَ أَنْ أُغْتَالَ مِنْ تَحْتِي, and I seek refuge in your greatness from being struck down from beneath me. Now we'll listen to the recitation.